All right. So let's go through crop estimate first. I've been going through and putting security into this workspace. So we may see a few places where it's not happy with that. That's part of the reason why we're getting you guys together, is to help us flog this thing and debug it and make sure that the flow is okay and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So let's start off with how we're going to log into this one. I'm set up as a packing house, and what I'm going to see is going to be a little bit different than what Chris Diaz would see. You'll log in the same way pretty much, where you're going to get in and there's going to be a
Unknown
group.
participant is now joining.
There's going to be a group listed here as PK Crop and Equity. So both of these are in the same workspace. The workspace name is the same. And then I'm going to go in as, I think this is Orange Cove. So you guys are welcome if you want to try to do this while we're doing it. Right now, you're welcome to get in, or you can watch what I'm doing and just go through the video after. So it's up to you. And slow me down with any questions you got. So I'm going to go ahead and log into this workspace. Like any workspace, you've got tabs across the top, and we're in the list tab, which is the first one. And it's gone in and it's set up which location I'm set up for. And you'll notice the DP code is ending in 00, which means this is an association. When you get into this workspace, you have to be in an association because crop estimates and equity are handled at that level. Okay. The very, very first thing we'll do is we're working on season 2020, and I'm going to hit list estimates. It's going to show me the estimates that have been entered previously for different varieties and different districts. And the thing to note about this is this create date's really important. This is the date that the person would have gone in and created this estimate. That's kind of the key for this particular instance of the estimate. And when I say instance, that's because these estimates have a life. Where here, these all say they were loaded. When you start with an estimate and you're creating a brand new one, it's going to be in work. And you'll see the bottom left here, there's a little key. So in work is the very...
Is now exiting.
Uh-oh, we lost somebody. KP, are you still there? I think we lost him. Well, I have to catch up on the video. Are you guys all still there?
I think he's still there, Alan. I think he just got off of his cell phone, but I still see him on Teams, I think.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So the in work is where you initiate your crop estimate. And then when you're done with it and happy with it, you would submit it to Varietal. So it'll go into a submit status. And then Varietal looks at it and they'll load it. And they'll load it with an as of date. So I say all that because when you create one and it stamps it with a date, you're kind of stuck with that one. And I'll show you an example of what happens once you submit it and it gets loaded. You've got to wait at least a day to create a new one if you have to make a change to it. So let's go through, and I'm going to follow my own notes here. We're going to start with 2021 season. And I'm going to put in a District 1, and I'm going to do late naval because I've already played with navals. And then I'm going to create new. What this does, it goes out and initiates or initializes some things, and it gives us a screen here that's somewhat similar to what you would see in Kirky, where you have a header panel at the top, where you put in your acres, you put in your estimate, you have a crop utilization factor. And for those people that have anticipated members, maybe they're not contracted yet, but you want to include them, you've got those fields here as well for them. And then you've got a comment field. Similar to the other screen that you're used to, you've got your grades, and you put your percentages in here. I know it says order quantity. We'll get that changed by go live. But you'll put your percentages in here for the grades and your percentages in for the sizes over here. The other thing you'll notice is we've got a status here that we're in work. And this set to loaded button only works for the varietal team. So the varietal team gets into the same workspace. They look at these things in the same way. They will see the stuff that's loaded or submitted, and they'll be able to set it to loaded. So we'll go over some of this stuff. So let's go ahead and just put in some fictitious numbers. These may look goofy.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah.
When I let's say I set this to be loaded, does the packing house get a copy of this?
They'll see it on their screen. Right now, there's no printed copies, but we'll go through it in our
They would have
example.
to be in their crop estimate screen in order to see it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all you said.
They would have to be in their crop estimate screen for profit in order to see that it was loaded and submitted.
They do right now. There's not a printout and there's not an email. But at some point, I think Rod brought this up last week, that he'd like something to kind of trigger them to know that it's been loaded.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So basically a notification of loaded. All right. So going on with this fictitious example here, the crop estimate utilization factor, a number of people will put 100% in, so I'm going to put 100% in right now. I'm not going to do anticipated numbers yet. I will come down to the comment and just say initial estimate. And then just to help navigate, if you're into the function keys, I can hit F7. That'll take me down to my grade percentages. So I'm going to put in some percentages here. You'll notice the products is in here and it's highlighted in a different color, and I'll go over why that is shortly. Okay, so I've put some percentages in. Notice at the bottom it's tallying it to help me know that I've got 100%, because that's what you want to have here. And then I'm going to put in some percentages for, oops, let me go back up. Percentages for the sizes as well. This is always fun. Get us down to something like that. Okay, so I've put my percentages in, and now I want the numbers that are going to be calculated from this to come in. So I hit my F5, or I've got a button up here for calculate. And that goes through and figures out, based on what the tree crop estimate was, the utilization factor is, it goes, figures out my numbers. And this is my grand total number here, my 230,000, which is based on this field up here. But you'll notice that this number is a little bit different. This number takes into account that the products number needs to be removed from it before you figure out what sizes you're going to be running into boxes. Okay? So your products percentages here, it's basically this number that shows products percent total and the products number here. And the remainder is what you're going to stick in a box, and that's why, you know, you've got your sizes for that remainder. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay.
All good.
Good. So then I've got an F3 or a button here to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It goes off and puts the records in the database, and it'll take me back to my list when it's done. Okay. So now my list is showing for this season. I've got a naval estimate that's loaded, and I've got my late navals that's in work. And you can see my comments over here. So I'm going to go back in to edit this, and what you do is you basically select any cell here on this row and hit your edit estimate button. And that's going to pull everything back in the way we had it before. Okay, so let's say I need to change my acres. It really doesn't affect anything there, but this is the number that affects everything, and maybe I'll even change my utilization factor. I can add anticipated member numbers as well, but I'm just going to go initial estimate with, or I'll just say ready to go. So now I haven't hit my calculate button, but I want to do that. Make sure that I recalculate everything. So now my grand total is different from what it was, and what I'm actually going to put into these sizes is different. So same process. We're going to save it, F3. All right, should come back to the list. So we've kind of gone through, we've made some decisions on, are we ready to do this or not? And I'm gonna, one more time, I'm gonna go back into it just for the sake of repetition here. And now I'm happy with this, so I'm gonna submit it. So I got an F24 or a submit button. So Shift F12, basically submits it, saves everything again, and takes us back, and now we see we've got a submitted crop estimate. So this is where the varietal group would go in and they would set this to loaded. Okay. And unfortunately, because of security, I can't log in as varietal right now because I'm logged in as a packing house. So what I thought I would do is just show essentially what it looks
I'm
like.
in varietal right now. I can.
You want to do
See if
that?
I can do it.
That would be cool. Yeah, hit your list estimates
I see
for
it right
season
here.
2021.
Yep.
Actually, if you want to share your screen, that would be cool.
My internet has not been ideal today, so I can certainly attempt.
Okay.
But just FYI.
Okay.
Let me share it. I think this is. Okay. Should be coming up.
Ah, cool. So go ahead and select that one that says submit. And then go ahead and hit edit estimate. Because my understanding is sometimes you can tweak it a little bit. But for you, what you're going to do, that set to loaded button, if you're happy with it, you would hit that. And it's going to, if you hit it right now, it should come up and ask you for an as of date. So go ahead and hit it. Just want to make sure this is working.
Yep.
Yeah, please set as of. Okay. That's the way it works. So you can hit F4 there, or you can type now. Yeah, perfect. You can future date it. If you hit F4 real quick, just click into that cell. And F4 it gives you a calendar.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you guys are working on this stuff right now, you would probably push it to the beginning of that season, right? For this variety.
Typically,
so
we just put
that.
it as in, just whenever it's in, it's in.
Yeah. So for now, just go ahead and leave it for that, and then
so
set loaded, and it should save it. All right, so that's the late naval one from Orange Cove. There you go.
Okay.
So that's the general process in terms of the life cycle. I'm going to steal the screen back from you.
Yep.
And when I go back to list my estimate, I'll see that it's loaded as well. Okay. So that is general flow for one of these. Now, let's talk a little bit more. Let me make sure I'm on my syllabus here. Loaded. Okay. If I wanted to go into this right now, remember I talked about the create date? Because this is today's date, and I know I'll need to fix this, but right now it's not going to be happy with me trying to edit it because, one, it's loaded. Well, that's really the main reason. If I hit edit estimate right now, it's going to say it's loaded. You cannot edit and save this version. You can actually look at it if you hit OK, and it'll bring it up, but you won't be able to save it. So you can look at it. It looks like it's in edit mode and all that. That's just a function of how we make these screens work. But you wouldn't be able to save this version because it's still sitting in loaded. And if you tried to save it, it's going to come up and say, cannot do this. It's already loaded. So I'm going to hit F1 to clear out of this. And if this was, let's say Tuesday, let's say tomorrow, a different date than this, I'd then be able to go in and copy this estimate if I needed to make a change. So when you guys are playing around with this and you create one, go in the next day and hit copy estimate. Right now it's going to say it already exists for this date. I wish I had date and time I could put in here, but I don't right now. But I think that's going to be the update for this is date and time. So you'd be able to make one or a copy of one that's not quite the same date and time. Okay. Any questions on that part of the process? Because I want to move on to the equity screen for a little bit, and then we'll come back to picks. Pretty simple, you think?
Yes, from a varietal standpoint.
You have to push a button.
I don't know. I mean, I would be curious. I mean, KP, Chris, John. I mean, feedback. Is this good?
Yeah, for me, I think
Thoughts?
we've this question before is really like how do we get the information that's been inputted. So Alan, has anybody sent you the current like turkey crop estimates we pull to see what's in the system to kind of go off of and see if we can get that information generated? Or what do we have set up currently if I wanted to see what my crop estimate was last season for clementines, for example? Like how would we get that information?
A couple different ways, Chris. Let me get out of this. We're going to look at the equity screen, and that'll show us one way. The other way, when you're on this list, if I wanted to look at last year and hit the list estimate, I've got everything I've ever entered here. So this is one way to look. And then are you... One thing is just looking at the estimate. The other is the estimate versus, we'll call it the picks or the utilization, right? Is that the other piece of visibility you need?
Currently, that percentage is on there. Yes.
Or like,
yeah, when we come back to the weekly picks, let's talk about, here's what you estimated and here's where you ended up type of thing. Let's talk about that. But let's look at, let's go to equity real quick, and then I'll show you the other way you can see what's going on. So there's a tab across the top called equity. And I'm going to put in my 2020. Well, let me put in 2020 and see if I've got any numbers. I don't know if I do. No, actually, we'll just stick to script. I just put in a 2021 estimate. I'm going to put in, well, this is this week. I'll put in my variety, Late Naples. And then I'll hit go and see if it shows up. Okay. Because I'm only at Orange Cove right now, I'm only seeing my number here for the equity that I've put in for Late Naples. This number is going to be the grand total of all the other houses that have Late Naval estimates. Chris, if you go into your screen and put in 2021 and do pretty much what I just did, and let me know if you get anything different.
I do not. It shows the exact same thing.
Yeah, okay.
Minus it has the equity percentages over there at 100%, but everything else is the same.
Put in 2020, put in week 33 for both of those. District 1 Naval.
Yes, there is something.
Okay, so why don't you show that screen? It's not going to be the view that the packing houses get per se, but I want everybody to understand what visibility there is.
Okay, hang on one moment. Okay, should be coming up here.
Okay. So in the background, you guys, oh, you know what? Turn off District 2 and 3 and go ahead and hit go again. Okay, there we go. It's a little easier to read. So in the background, the varietal guys get to see a line for all the different associations and the estimates that are in there. And for this week in particular, week 33, which we did the load test, you can see where there's booked and shipped and totals for all that. And it gives a booked and shipped percent and the percent against your equity. So if we take, let me see who's kind of close, equity. So if we look at Magnolia, which is line 3, you can see the crop estimate that's listed. You can see what was booked and shipped. So there's a grand total there. Then that all total is the total of all the booked and shipped for everybody, so we can get percentages. And so you see a booked and shipped percent, if you don't mind highlighting that booked and shipped percent, the 5.48 cell. Yeah, thank you. Their equity, so they got 5.48% that week. Their equity was 3.12, so they were over 2.36%. They were over a certain number of cartons, which is next to that. That's how you read this, and you can see who's under as well. So you're going to see exactly the same thing for just one line there. So, you know, if you're Gillette or if you're Saticoy or whoever, you'll see just your line. You'll get to see live the booked and shipped for this particular week because it's calculated on the fly. And you'll be able to see where you are for equity on that particular week. Okay, so this is more of a live as I'm going, you know, where are my numbers?
And Alan, so right here, each house has a goal each week based on their equity percentage. This is where the help desk would, or whoever would input the goal quantity in this next column.
In fact, you know what? Put in vals instead of navals. Keep everything else the same. And hit go on that. Again, this is live. It's going to be calculated out right now as things are set to booked and or shipped. So now there's a little graph at the bottom that doesn't make a lot of sense when it's just one association, but for varietal, you can see how the curve works. You've got the equity percent is the blue line, the goal percent is the red line, and you can see the booked and shipped total. So this is a way to keep track live where you are, so you don't have to wait for a smart report the next day, or your smart report, you know, this morning, you know, is basically an artifact once you start doing business. So any questions on this? On how this works? Yeah.
Have you, I know with almost every variety, it's pretty cut and dry on equity and by district or total districts. But the one tricky variety is always lemons when it comes to equity. Have you spoke with with the lemon desk with Jose about how it'll be visualized on here as far as the lemon season and how they kind of break down the equity by district and all that stuff? as far as lemons?
There is the question. The answer is yes. I've worked with Kevin Conan and the team to replicate a spreadsheet that they have, and it's on this drill down tab, and I need to do some work to just validate it again. There's a drill down tab, and they show, I'm wondering if it's the same thing that you see. I'm not sure. Chris, you have any insight in that spreadsheet that Kevin Conan keeps?
I mean, it's a breakdown by volume and percentage. Realistically, I think KP, you're talking about just separating out different percentages for different districts on lemons.
Yeah, I think so. So the way it's set up right now, if we go into Kirky, you can put, District 1 lemons, and you'll see what equity percentage you are in that district and how much you've shipped and booked under that district. Or you can leave it blank and have all districts combined, and it'll show you your combined equity in all districts combined. But I guess the part I'm kind of speaking of is beyond that, when they, depending on what part of the season it is, D1, D2, and D3 will get the majority of the business. So it's not as cut and dry as like PCI, you're this much of the lemons right now. It's kind of tricky, and it gets a little complex when they have their goals, their shipping goals. And I don't know if they're going to continue to do it this way. Right now, the way they're doing it is the easy way, where PCI, you're 4.1% of total lemons right now in Sunkist, therefore you get 4.1% of the business. But when District 3 and 1 and 2 are all going at the same time, they always kind of break it down and say, okay, this is the goal, this is how much of that goal D3 is going to get, therefore this is how much you are of D3, this is how much you get. So it's a little tricky when the season starts up with districts.
Honestly, Alan, I mean, whenever you can confirm the drill down, I think that's the key piece that he's talking about. Okay. I haven't seen that yet, so whenever you have that squared away, I think KP, the answer is yes, that you can separate it out by district, depending on the type of season. But I think to Alan's point, he's still working on that piece of it. Is that right, Alan?
Yeah, we'll show it here in a second. We might as well show it here in a second, just so you can see the navigation. On this screen, you can pick and choose which districts, and if you picked all of them, go ahead and pick all of them again, Chris. It should roll everything up, and I believe the goals are actually put in by district. So it should be live calculating these numbers out. As you can see, our curves have changed.
Let's do lemons, because there's more, because John's on the call, KP's talking about lemons.
Sure. I don't know what data's out there. That's going to be the funky thing, right?
So, go ahead, Alan.
Well, okay, so it's showing the district 1, 2s, and 3s. It's not combining them here. All it's doing is showing them separately. So it really should combine them, huh? So that middle grid there, where if you see the district column, you've got district 1, 2s, and 3s here. It probably should roll them up. Is that valid to do it that way?
How do the houses see it?
I think what we'll do, probably to KP's point, is we'll get the lemon guys involved in this as well from Varietal and see how they want us to pull this together.
Because I think you need to see them separately, but to the point, if they're doing equity combined like they are right now, you may need them all to roll together as well.
Roll it together and get the percent based on that. Okay. I mean, it's math. I mean, everything's in the system. It's just going through and making sure the math works. Okay. The equity drill down, if you want. Well, I'll go to that tab. Let me steal
I'll
this.
say you want to take back over.
Well, hang on. I'm thinking about it. I'm only going to show one location. That's not very interesting. Yeah, go ahead and hit the equity drill down tab. Let's see how messy this one will get. And just do one district for now, because it's going to be a lot of data. Yeah. So this drill down is figuring out by week, by grade, by size across the top, whether you're above or below the line for your equity. So the top is by volume. So it's cartons. If it's red, you're under your equity. And the bottom is by percentages. And the numbers obviously are a little freaky. Like I say, I need to work on some of the numbers. But if you're above a certain threshold, oh, sorry, if you're below a threshold, you're going to be in the negative category. If you're above a threshold, you're in too far, you're in the yellow category. And again, I've got to go through this and get the numbers squared away because there's some really crazy numbers in there. But that's the intent of this. And again, it's math. So we've got a little bit of work to do. But this is where you'd be able to see very quickly where you're above or below by volume and where you're above and below by percent. And this is mimicking the work that was done in that spreadsheet that Kevin Conan keeps. Okay. Let me go back and take the screen. And find where I was here. Okay. Not as much color, not as scary. Any comments, questions before we go on to the next step, which is going to be the weekly picks?
I have a question. So I know on the equity part, it shows basically the weekly total per house. I currently use the weekly booking because it shows a breakdown by day of what I have booked per day. Is there a way to drill down day to day, or is it just a weekly overview? So
There's
currently it'll just adds it all up. It'll be 8/16 through 8/22. Each day, how many loads I have booked for a total at the end of the week, which I'd like to see on a day-to-day basis because I kind of use that to what I can do. If I can add more in a day, say I only have 5 loads booked and I can max out at 10, I know I have availability for 5 more loads to book that day. So my question is, can I see on a day-to-day basis opposed to just the whole week?
Yeah, a lot of that, to be honest, would be in your booking workspace.
Okay.
Because you can go in and you can drill down and see what you've got either in the inventory drill down. There's also an order list tab that you can see by day what you've got booked or other status. And you can slice and dice it to see, hey, what do I have that I need to bag and all that. And it gives you those lists in booking. If you needed it at the association level to kind of roll it up, because all this is really association level stuff, not packing house specific. If you logged into booking at an association level, you can see everything for all the houses, and you could probably still get the same list and do it that way if you needed to.
Again, is this something that I would have to generate? Like I would have to filter for the information I'm looking for, or is it just something to go to? Like that's why I was comparing it to the equity, because equity is there, but if you can just drill into each location and maybe if it broke it down by day, I'm saying that sounds like that might be beneficial. I don't know who else uses it on a day-to-day basis, But I could share my screen and show you my Kirky screen I look at if you would like to look at it to get a better idea of what I'm looking for.
Sure. Go ahead and share it. We'll have it recorded. That'll be good for us to review.
Can you see that?
Hang on. Oh, wow. Yeah, there we go.
So up here, you know, it shows vowels. I filtered it out here where I can take out what other houses I want to see. So it's just at my association level. There's the date for this week. My bookings from top to bottom show on a daily basis. This is PCI Rayos, PCI Lindsay's. For grand total here on the bottom, it shows a booked and shipped of almost 19, plus, you know, almost 22, 21. It comes out to about 40 loads. So this is my weekly booked and shipped right now. But like things I would do, what's beneficial for me, it looks like my 820 here at Rayo, kind of light, you know, so if more orders came in, say on the 19th or 18th and say I'm booked, oh, I can do it best can on the 20th. That's what I've used from setting at my role from on the sell side too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean the information's all in the system, and I think the varietal guys just got something similar to this, so I can look at that.
And again, even where it's currently at, if you were able just to drill down to your location, and if it gave you a breakdown by day for that total number it's ready gathering for you, I think might work.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to put the locations across the top. That can be done too, kind of like we do with the sizes. So I've made a note of that. Cool. So it's day by location. Yeah, right now you'd go into booking and you can see in the drill down something similar, but it's not going to be rolled up just like that. So we can put another grid there probably that would do that. If you wanted to, let me take the screen back. And that's the reason why we're working through this. If we wanted to, we could probably give you the ability to drill into these numbers. So if I had something for past week, although I think you just want to go straight to it. Yeah, I don't have any booked or shipped here. I mean, you could drill from here, but it almost sounds like you want another tab, again, probably even in booking.
Yeah, that
just
wouldn't be a problem if
gives
I
you that.
The information's there, the total's there. It's just, well, how did this total get equaled or totaled, I guess?
Right.
Every day it shows how many loads to add up to that number.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to talk through is we could certainly have something where you'd hit a function key and it would take you to a tab and it would show you the drill down of this. But is this the right place you'd want to do it, or would you rather do that in your booking screen? I'll tell you what, we'll set it up and then we'll hook it up either place or both. Because again, data's in the system, we can pull it out now, so It shouldn't be too bad. Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the list tab, and we'll finish up with the weekly picks. So I'm going to look at, what was the one I just created? This late naval. No, let me list estimates. Oh, I'm in the wrong season. Wrong season. So the one I created was this one. And I want to go in and do my weekly picks. So I'm just going to click the weekly picks number, or button, sorry. And this is what it looks like initially. It's got the week ending date and the week number, and I'm going to put my picks in. Forgive me if these numbers don't make a lot of sense. I'm just throwing stuff in. And actually, your input on this would be great, because when I looked at this, there's a lot of these aren't even entered by people. It's just the pick typically, sometimes the dumps and rots. Some people are doing these and some people aren't doing these numbers. So packed inventory, something like that. Real simple data entry screen. It's for this particular week. If I'm late and I need to do last week, I can click this button. It'll put another week in for me. Something like that. Real simple. We just save our picks. And it's done. Your picks are in there. So I can go back in and look at it if I want to look at it. So each week as I go into this, I'd be adding this week or adding last week. And you'd just be running through, and you can see your grand total for picks will be down here. One of the things that we do need to add to this screen is the goal and the grand total, and there's some other things we can put up here that are in the Kirky screen. But again, it's just a real simple data entry screen right now.
Hey, Alan.
Yep.
Where would the section be where, and I'm not the one that does it for PCI, but I know in Kirky they do have to enter in the storage numbers for the week, and I thought it was in the same kind of category as when we put our weekly picks in. Are you aware of storage numbers and where we would put that in Prophet, or that's in a different?
That did come up, and there's another field we can pull in here that we could put in for storage, because we added some extra fields in the background. I just haven't done that yet because I've been trying to get through all the security stuff. But the storage number would go in here as just another bucket.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. So again, basically save, and we're done. I was thinking there's not a lot of visibility to know which weeks you've put your picks in for. So if we select this, we might have a little grid off to the right or on the bottom that shows which weeks you've got picks for. So you have visibility here, and you don't necessarily have to load it. I know most of you have seen the pack estimate and all that, and it does that. It's pretty handy when you're selecting one of these to be able to see which week you've put your picks in for. So we'll probably put that grid in here too. Okay.
Hey, Alan, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Going back to the equity real quick, is that automatically going to refresh once an order is booked, or how do you refresh?
Yeah, it's basically every time you hit go.
So you have to hit go every time.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
We could, we've played around with that auto refresh, and it seems like it's been working okay. We could put that in here, and it'll just keep refreshing every, however long you want it to be. But right now, it's just you have to hit the button.
Okay.
Okay, so that, in a nutshell, is how you do your crop estimate, how you start off with a season, district variety, and create your crop estimate, run it through the process of being in work, submit it, have it get set to loaded for a particular as of date. Need to put Chris on there. And next time we have a session, we'll go back through and we'll copy an estimate, and we'll be able to edit it. So what it does is it basically puts that new date in there, and it'll put it in work in process, and it will give you the numbers that you had before, and you can modify them. That's how the copy will work. Okay. Any last questions? Because I think what we'll do is we'll cut it here. We'll end the recording here, and this will be one session. And then we'll have another session that we'll set up so we can do pack estimate, 6-week projection, and the floor stuff.
Yeah, that would be my only question or comment, Alan, is to have another session to go through the drill down of the equity, whatever storage tabs need to be on there, and then anything additional that we didn't cover today, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, we'll do another one. I'll make sure storage is in there. I will be working on that drill down.
Real quick, so there on the crop estimate, I like how it lists every change. You can see, you know, throughout the season when initial, first revised, third revised, and there's dates when that got edited. Is there a way to just put that in a report right now?
Right now, there's not. You can always copy and paste all this into Excel if you needed to, but there's not right now. Typically, the reports are the very last thing that we do because we're trying to get the numbers right first and get all the fields down that we need. But would it be basically this kind of a layout?
Yeah, looking at it though, it's almost like you can't drill down any further, right? That's all you're seeing from this screen? Or how
Right
do you,
now,
I know
yeah.
how can you go to an existing one?
Like this one from Mineola's?
Yeah.
So I would select it and I'll go edit well, that's actually got a, here, this is actually a good example. So I'm going to copy this one because it's not today's date. And there probably weren't percentages. Yeah, actually the percentages weren't loaded for the old ones.
Okay.
So if this had, you know, 35 and 5 and 45 and 15. If the old percentages were in here, eight, 5. Oh no. So I would basically have this new estimate that would be here. I might change some numbers. Let's just do this. Calculate. And then I'll just save it and go back. We'll see what it looks like. So now if I was going to look at all my Val estimates, I could type Val, not Val, it was Mineola, wasn't it? Mineola. I can see all my Mineolas. So here was the original one. Here's where I started the updated one. And it's sitting
so again,
in work.
Go and select one. You would have to edit it. There's not like a go-to to see the existing size structure on a current estimate.
Well, when it says edit, it could say just go to, and you have the option to edit it or not. So if I go back into this,
I'm trying to understand how to do it because I know if I have to pull a crop estimate or what was it last year or whatever. If I have to find that information, I just want to know if we are doing copying and paste. I can just go here and then copy and paste everything. Because that right there, if I could do a print screen of that, that would be the information we're looking for.
okay. Yeah, you could absolutely do a print screen of this.
Okay.
Yeah. Copy and paste, you know, let me back out of this. We want to put some utilities in here as we go forward where I've already got copy and estimate. Well, I guess that would be the utility for this one. There's some copies. When we get into pack estimates and things like that, when you're going from one day to the next, we want to be able to copy down, that kind of thing. And 6-week projections, we want to do the same thing. We'll give you some copy features. But that'll be for the next session when we go through that. So what I would ask you guys is go ahead and try to get on, and let me again go to what it looks like when you log into the crop and equity. Of course. It looks like this. You have to log in. So Dev Profit Workspace. We're in Pilot 2, and it's going to say PK Crop and Equity for both of these. Oh, PK and SK. You'll see PK here and SK here. That's a security thing. And you'll select whatever location. So that's what it looks like when you guys are going to log in. Okay. Any other questions? So yeah, do me a favor, go into it. Let me know if you can't get there, or if you don't see what you think you should see, and play around with it and create some of these things. And we really need you to flog it and see if you can find some bugs, or say, hey, I need to be able to see X, Y, and Z, or I'd like to see something a little differently. And then we'll set something up for pack estimate, 6-week projection, and floor here in the next day or so. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Take it easy.
Multiple people